Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Let me just check that you can actually hear what I'm saying. Oh, perfect. Very good. Excellent. All right. So, we are officially live. Just to let you guys know, I do have my phone open here because I'm going to leave it open for comments and a bit of discussion if need be. So, welcome to Out of the Fog, the Trauma Network. If you have not watched the introduction video, there is one that was recorded yesterday. So go in and have a bit of a look at that if you would like to know a little bit about the Trauma Network and my little coaching business that I have going here in rural Queensland. So this morning, unfortunately, we've had Georgie that's had to postpone. So Georgie Hansen was going to be coming on this morning at 10 a.m. and she's just had some stuff that's some personal stuff and circumstances that are happening her side of things. So she has had to postpone. We still hope to have her on hopefully next week if we can, or the new year, which will be absolutely fantastic. And the two of us are very much, believers of everything just having purpose and the timing of things just being perfect. And it's funny how things work out. And I'm sure that when she does come on, when we are able to have this conversation on grief and loss, that is going to be something that's going to be really, really needed at that time for whoever might tune in to that. But what I did want to do was I had some selected topics for a circumstance like this because life happens, as we know. And so I thought today, well, let me talk about Christmas and why we tend to find that Christmas is a time of year that seems to be so much more prevalent when it comes to mindful well-being, people suffering and feeling really down over this time of year. And I mean, if we look at, usually when we start a year, we have these really high hopes. We're like, oh, this is going to happen and I'm going to achieve this and this is what's going to go right for me. And often, as is so customary, we go into the new year with resolutions. Okay, so this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I see for myself. This is where I see myself going. And sometimes it always does not go to plan, as we know, because as we know, life happens, right? Life happens all the time. And we have really devastating things that happen. And so when we consider this and we know that we go in with all the intention, and then, of course, we have disappointments that happen. And a lot of the time, so many of the disappointments are out of our control. And whilst that's all fine and good, often we tend to really get down about things. And I think for a lot of families, before COVID and then post-COVID, we had a lot of people that had lost work and their jobs. We have devastating things that happen over Christmas, like suicides, deaths, and things that are really close to this time of year. And when I really sit back and I think about this, and I don't know about you, feel free to chime in if you are watching or if you come on in, feel free to pop a question in or discuss it if you like. Even if you're going to be watching this after this has gone live, feel free to post a comment and give me your thoughts on where you're at when it comes to Christmas. For myself, when I sit back and I think about it, a lot of the time it's these societal frameworks that are really built around different things, right? And meaning and giving meaning to things. So I think that when it comes to Christmas, we all have this, from when it comes from advertising, we see it in advertising and in movies. We see the towns and houses light up and it's like, this is the time of year that is jolly, giving, celebratory, all of these different things. And so when we don't have those things, we immediately develop a mindset or a perspective that we are at a loss compared to, other people. And so I think that that's really the first thing to consider, is the way that things are really built up and the way that it's meant to look. And the way that we make things look appealing is by making it really shiny and good and full of love and all those things. And the reality is it's not always that way. So how are we maneuvering through Christmas, and how do we really learn to kind of go in and change the perspective of that, or really become very accepting and welcoming with that? And one of the things that I think is really, really so important, and studies prove this too, is having gratitude or having thanks for what we do have. And I always say, so long as we're breathing and so long as we're here, then we have an opportunity and we have these really amazing things that we get to build. Now, you might be listening to this and you can, you might be saying to yourself, yep, I absolutely agree. But what if I'm in a place where there is so much that I'm facing that I don't seem to see that light, or I don't have that joy? Or, we have some people that have spent their lives celebrating Christmas with someone that has been there all for so long, has been there for such a long time. They've shared years with the person. And this really is when it comes back down to, grief and coping and getting through. And so one of the things that I would probably encourage, from my perspective and from little things that I know help me through in times like this, where I have considered people that I have lost over the years, especially close to Christmas, is probably dedicating yourself to being happy in their memory. To knowing that when you did celebrate the times with this person, they would have wanted you to be happy in continuing to live in their memory and being happy with the times that you did share. So whether that be, sticking up photos of when they were with you and the times that you did have, or perhaps on Christmas Day, you decide that, you're going to play a video, perhaps, or some memories, bring out the memories and cherish those things. Maybe write down what made you love that person, or what made you love spending time with that person, what really gave you momentum. And then what was it with them that gave you meaning? What did they do that made you feel like there was meaning in that relationship? And whatever those meanings are for you, whether it be, they made me feel loved, they made me feel accepted, they made me feel joy, they made me feel togetherness. And this is really what Christmas is all about, isn't it? It's really about bringing people together and being together and having that togetherness. And I know that if you're stuck in a place where you don't really have too many people to be together with, then there are things that we can do to try and encourage that togetherness. So perhaps we can seek out people who might also be alone over Christmas by having those types of conversations. And it just simply starts by, what are you doing for Christmas? Oh, I'm not doing too much, etc. Awesome. Let's have lunch at my place. And if you have someone that is really meaningful to you that can't be here this Christmas, bring along some photos of them, or bring along something that you remember best about them, and let's share that. And by doing this and really, try to start perhaps at the beginning of the year as you're going in, so that you have something to look forward to at the end of the year. You know that you're not going to be alone. You're going to be gathered with other people that have been through similar things. And I really cannot say this enough. When we are with people that share like-mindedness and have been through similar experiences, that then really starts to dissipate, or starts to lessen the fog, hence the name, Out of the Fog, because sadness, trauma, depression, mental health, all of these things have us stuck in a place where we think that we are just surrounded by this mist, like we can't see any way out. And there is always hope, and there's always a way out. So perhaps that's something that you could really try and start early on, so that you've got something to really look forward to. Now, of course, I know that a lot of people, we battle financially. And I know that I said this in my introduction video, where there was a time where I had been quite ill and I was in a partial coma. I had had meningitis and I was very, very unwell, and it took me out of work. And at the time I was with a partner who was going through his own stuff. and his brother had not long before committed suicide. And so there were all of these different things. His mum suffered from mental health. And so there were all of these different things that were really playing a part in making you feel like it wasn't going to be a good Christmas. And at that time, I was so caught up in those things that I couldn't see, the light at the end of the tunnel. And like they say, hindsight is 2020 and perspective is very much 2020. And I continue to learn this, and I continue to have my lessons too in life. We don't all reach a place where it's all just like, oh, I've been through this and it's now all, all my other challenges go away, but we can use it as momentum to help to get through the next challenge and the next challenge. And sometimes our challenges stay with us a little bit longer, and those parts of us that have been at a loss stay at us for a little bit longer. But I suppose the thing is once again, and when we were stuck in that place and we had so much that was going on and we weren't very financially stable, and, you wonder what's going to happen next. And it was places like St. Vincent de Paul that came through for us, that gave out food vouchers, and you went and you did little things. And, whether or not you have a Christmas tree, you can even choose a place where you put a couple of lights up if you're able to put lights up. If you're not able to put lights up, then it's the light that you have surrounding you at the time. And I wish that I had thought of this differently to what I think about it now, because it is truly what you make it. And life is what you continue to make it. And this year might be really, really, shitty and not good. Excuse my language. But that doesn't mean that next year is going to be the same. And hope is one of the biggest emotional driving factors. And we were created with hope for a reason. So hope and love are the two things that we need in order to survive. Obviously, we need food, sustenance. But those two emotional driving factors are the things that continue to keep us alive and continue to allow us to face another day. So it's really about coming back to love and hope, if those are the two, things that we need to actually survive and make it through. And so when we are really using those things, and when we are really looking at the perspective of having gratitude, whether it just be having, strangers or going next door, and seeing how they're doing, how are you doing? Do you have family over Christmas? That's amazing. If you don't, come around, and you don't have to bring much, but you can still come together. Financial hope, of course, is something that, I bring up, and I know that sometimes there's no easy fix to that. And coming from somewhere where you're hearing someone else speak that might be a bit more financially stable now, or, is not as unfortunate as then. And I know when I was caught up in those phases of my life, that attitude tends to kind of sink in, where you kind of think, oh, well, it's easy for you to say that, it's easy for you to think that. But I think that as long as you are being proactive in helping yourself, and as long as you are not losing that hope, and you are still coming back to the essence of hope and of love, and that tomorrow will be better, it's once we start to lose hope that we really start to sink into places that become quite dangerous. And that's why we have people that are at complete loss of hope. And these people are the people that are probably more prone to questioning their life, or questioning ending their life. And obviously this is, the trauma network. So we do tend to be quite vulnerable here, and we do tend to really kind of put it out there, but if you are someone who is really suffering or in a place of suffering, then please, turn to those agencies and those organizations that are not-for-profit organizations, because one of the main things that they get to do is to help those of us that are in states of battling. Okay, hi, whoever has joined me, please feel free to comment or discuss anything that you feel. We have had Georgie that's had to cancel this morning, very last minute. So we're just discussing Christmas and getting through Christmas and not losing hope. So thank you for being here. But it's those organizations that have been created by people that literally have a want and a need to help others. So whether you're turning to that and making use of those things, Another really beneficial thing that can be so, bring in a bit of light over this time of year is also having the conversations with the people that will understand. Because as long as we have understanding, then we eliminate the feelings of being alone. And that's what is really so important over Christmas, because like we were saying, right, we attach this meaning to Christmas. Christmas is meant to be this way, and society has definitely framed it that way, even from way back in religious epistemology, or where religion comes from, when you think of those types of things. But it was always a gathering of together. And so it's really about encouraging that togetherness. And we really do that a lot of the time by making ourselves vulnerable. And that really is moving past the shame. I think, when I think back to circumstances, if there was one thing that always held me back from progressing so much, was facing the fear of what people would think of me if I said, I'm alone this Christmas, or we don't have that many people around us over Christmas, because then you kind of think, oh gosh, well, what do they think of me, or how are they holding? And the other thing is, I don't think there's anything worse than feeling like another person feels sorry for you or is doing something for you out of just sympathy. It's kind of like that thing of ingenuineness. And that ingenuineness and that thing of taking that pride away and thinking, this person is only doing this because they feel sorry for me, can be quite a detriment to how vulnerable we really want to be over this time of year. So I really encourage starting to make those decisions really on early on in the year. So like going into 2025, start to build the frameworks and the networking so that you're not feeling alone, and so that you're really joining up with people, that are going to be very much in the same boat as yourself. And I can tell you that people are always wanting to share time with others, because it's how we are made. Literally, it's our emotional drivers. We thrive off this stuff. And when we have mindful well-being really come into things, and when we sink into places of depression and, of not seeing any hope, it is that thing of having someone else that will understand. And so if you can start to find that early on in the year, and then you kind of know that, well, approaching Christmas, like we were discussing, I've kind of put those feelers out, and I've invited people to the table to share in the memory of that person that they've lost, or to just come and, an encouraging word. The other big thing, I think, apart from gratitude, like what we were discussing just before, the next thing to that is giving. Now, I know that when we talk about being in grief, suffering from, places where we feel so down at this time of year, or we're not too sure, how to maneuver that, one of the biggest things that's going to make you feel better is by giving. And I'm not talking about material things. Okay. Material and tangible things are awesome to have. Money is something that is necessary these days to live economically wise, all of those things. And we know that. But what I'm also talking about is just giving of yourself, whether it be, and a lot of the time on Christmas Day, everyone's kind of, cooped in. And in this time of the month, everyone is so busy. I was going through Facebook, and the amount of people that, are announcing, oh, we're going away this year, and, this is what we're having for Christmas. And you see the lights going up, and everything is just so much that is just going on. It's like everything comes alive in its own way. Even when it comes to TV and advertising, it's all the Christmas movies come out and all of those things. But by giving of something, and by having conversations with people and giving someone hope, or complimenting somebody, what happens is that person, you've done something for them, and you see that reaction, because that's how we're made, right? We're basically made to mirror people, and we're made to take in things. But literally, when you give someone a compliment, or when you have a really good conversation, the feel-good chemicals in your brain increase. And there is actually research to say that when you hug someone, the art of actually hugging and that person-to-person contact, just giving a hug, is something that will increase the serotonin in the brain. And it is a feel-good chemical. Not only that, the love hormone, right, that is also increased. And so these things then not only affect that person, but they affect you too, where they actually make you feel better. And it's very much about lifting the spirit of yourself and of others. And so giving doesn't always need to look like something of, a material gesture or, whatever that may be. In fact, an example, my partner is working on Christmas, and so like the week before, his family is coming, but on actual Christmas Day, I wasn't really going to be doing anything. So I extended that out. And I just kind of said, what are you doing for Christmas? Oh, okay, well, you should come around, and so it's making that encouragement and really giving that out. And if you know that someone, is perhaps it's Christmas time and you know that you probably have an inkling that someone is going to be on their own, and I'm not just talking about elderly people. The reality is, and even in the conversations that I have, there are a lot of people that don't have many people around them right now. I'm talking to one of the most beautiful ladies that, without saying too much, that has a little one, and she doesn't have very much at the moment for Christmas. She's battling financially. She's on her own. She's going through her own relationship stuff, and she's trying to find a place to stay. And these are the things that you find out by just having those conversations and not being afraid to have those conversations. And then you really get to bring it together. Okay, so far, let's recap. We've gone over sharing if you've lost someone in grief. We've spoken about bringing out their memories and the things that really made you feel welcome in their presence and really made you have hope and them have hope, and how are you living on in their memory? Because one thing I know is that with love, and when you lose someone in grief, no matter what, that person wants you to be happy. Always. You're not going to lose someone that you've had such a connection with, and they're not going to want you to be happy. They want you to be happy. And so even though you might miss them and you have that grief there, the thing is how am I living on in their memory? This time of year as well, I know that we didn't really discuss this, but let's just bring it into this conversation. This time of year as well, we have a lot of people throughout the year that have had relationship breakdowns, and they've had people that have left, for some people, for some blokes. And I know men's mental health is a huge thing, and I've been speaking to someone who is in men's mental health, and they've been talking about, how misunderstood it all is, and how much we really, once again, same thing as Christmas, the way that it's set up by society, and it's not a bad thing. It's kind of like a birthday, etc. It's times of the year that we encourage a togetherness, okay? But at the same time, for blokes, society has also built it up to go, oh, well, you know what? Because you're a bloke, you need to be, hardworking, hard-minded. You don't cry. You don't be vulnerable. All of these things. And thank God that slowly we are seeing more prevalence, I think, or more speaking out about men's mental health and, the suffering of blokes, and encouraging more of a vulnerability. But that doesn't mean that, and I speak from a woman's perspective, but I've had a lot of blokes in my life that have suffered from mental health. I was actually thinking about it the other day, and I've had 6 male friends, including a brother-in-law that has committed suicide or had, died to drugs. So there are a lot of people that are really stuck in this mindset of, once again, can't be vulnerable. I don't want someone to feel sorry for me. And I think that for blokes and ladies alike, when we have relationship breakdowns and it's going to be the first Christmas, doesn't even matter if it's the first Christmas. I speak to people that have been single or, don't have that like they might have another partner, but they don't have that same family dynamic like what they had way back. And these people still, suffer extreme loneliness on this time of year. And I think what makes it worse is when you have, custody battles going through and things have got to stages where it's really nasty, because that's the truth of things. This is what happens. Hurt people. And when we are in places where we've lost people or we are at a loss, it's very easy, to kind of fall into those patterns where we are just so destructive, and so one of the other things is recognizing once again that when you are going through these things, how are you going to be building a collective of people that can kind of come in and have an understanding, build an understanding, and how are you reaching out? And once again, I go back to the not-for-profit organizations, because we have people that are there to not only provide hope and all of those things, but people that you can talk to or you can find out, where the next service will be or when they're going to be doing something. And what you'll find is that you're going to meet people that are in the same boat. And then what happens is that builds a conversation and that builds a togetherness. And from that conversation comes in more of, knowing that, well, hey, I'm not alone and these people are the same. And so that then encourages togetherness, and that encourages hope, and it encourages brotherhood. But these things are things that really take progression. And, when aside from having the real reality of people not having their families together over this time, if you are someone who has a type of, healthy relationship with that person that is no longer with you, and you still have your children in your life, so if things haven't got to that place where it's really bad, etc., then really encourage for that phone call to be made. Let's just, whatever's going on, let's just push it aside for now. And it's about the kids and it's about that. So even if it's, doing that video messenger, and turning through and saying, hi, how you going? And those things, if you're fortunate enough to see them or share half a day, then definitely be doing that. The biggest thing out of it all, though, is really keeping ourselves in healthy states of mind over this time of year, because, it's this year and going into the new year that we see this really big peak, in mental health, in suicide rates, in really destructive, even, car accidents, and the amount of things that we see happen in there. And I know that this is also, the reality of life, but it's a sad reality of life. And so one of the points I really want to make today is it's really about cultivating things from as early as possible in the year. Christmas often is so far away for us, and we are so focused on each day. And let me tell you, many, if not all of us, in some way or another, are struggling just day to day, never mind thinking about what Christmas is going to bring. And I know that when a lot of us think about Christmas, even getting out to go and, do shopping or whatever it is and preparing brings stress on its own. Never mind actually being plagued with all of these really devastating things that are around us. So building that tribe, getting prepared for us, and also just, sometimes it just takes making an agreement with someone else, where you might have lost that person or whatever it is, but you still share something, and it's about making that boundary and that agreement. Hey, you know what? This is what's happened, but this is what's important right now. So this is what we need to do now in order to make this better. And by doing that, it's amazing how many other people, click onto that and they're like, hey, you know what? I should probably try that, So the thought of Christmas and the things that it brings in, I understand, are not always the greatest sentiments or the greatest things. And I know that we've spoken about family issues, battling financially, having grief. But just remember that there is always going to be a time that we can make it better. And I can't say this more than, create opportunities and life for yourself. Don't let it get to a place where your pride or whatever it is takes over, and you think no one's going to understand, because there are so many people. Take it from me. I have these conversations, guys. There are so many people that are in the same boat, and there are so many people that are reaching out and wanting hope and wanting togetherness. And by just doing these things, we get to meet these people and we get to do these things. So please, whatever you might be doing today, prepping for it, just remember just those 3 simple things. Reach out, start to have the conversations. Christmas is still, what are we today? We are the, how can I not, we are the 11th. How can I not even know today's date? That is motherhood for you. So we are the 11th. So we've still got days, until Christmas. And a lot of places, a lot of workplaces have not ended yet. So have those conversations with your work colleagues. What are you doing over Christmas, etc.? Find the people in the same boat and encourage them, bring them to your table. Make that, thing. And for the people that are battling financially, please turn to places that are available to you. I know that they would be inundated, but make the bookings, go out, go and see, St. Vincent de Paul, go and see the organizations that are meant to be helping. That is what they're there for. So don't feel, and I know I say this, don't feel ashamed, but I know what it is to feel that. But that's what they're there for, have those conversations. And then if you're someone who is plagued by, mental chaos or mindful chaos, have the places and the support systems that you need to turn when things get tough, and have them there ready to go, so that you're not left in a place where you're kind of like, oh God, what am I doing now and where am I heading? And, preparation is key. So I hope that even though it's a very small discussion today, I hope that those little things can give you a little bit of hope to know that, you're not alone in Christmas. I know can be a very hard time of year, but it can also be a year where you're really encouraging, a togetherness, and you're giving, right? So have a fantastic rest of your day. And we still go live on Friday, as far as I know. I have to give appreciation to the people that are coming on, the guests that will be coming on, because this was really put together quite quickly. And it's a time of year where there is a lot going on. So, just, take a thought out for those people that will be coming on. And when they do, come on, and if it's rescheduled, but, their hearts are in the right places, and they're here to offer hope and experiences of hope this time of year. And it's definitely not about dwelling, but it's about living in memory and knowing that you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have good things, and you deserve to live to inspire someone else. And that is really what Christmas is all about. It's about bringing in love, inspiring other people, letting people know that they're not alone. So let's not lose that essence of Christmas. If you replay this, if you want to discuss anything, if you want to comment, please do so. And we will see you very soon. Thank you for listening. Take care, guys.